Can you lose weight with the South Asian diet? Before 2014, I thought it wasn't possible until I won a bodybuilding competition, the most extreme of all body transformations, whilst eating a South Asian diet every single day. I haven't looked back since, and in the past 10 years, I've been able to help hundreds, if not thousands, get into the best shape of their life doing the same. One thing to remember is South Asians love their food, but they probably love to feed others even more. Try and tell a South Asian that to get into and stay in shape, you need to give up South Asian food is crazy. Of course, there'll be certain things that just aren't on the cards. Think burfi, bhajia, or halwa. Most main dishes can fit a healthy lifestyle with a few simple tweaks. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 changes you need to make to a South Asian diet if you want to lose weight with it and, of course, keep it off. Before we dive into the 3 changes, there's 3 things typically on any South Asian's mind when it comes to health and fitness. How do I tell my family, relatives I want to eat differently? Is it even possible for me to lose weight? And what about my South Asian genetics? Let's dive into each. The problems with the traditional South Asian diet is rooted in culture. When I ask South Asians of older generations why being fit and healthy is frowned upon, their answers are interesting. They talk about how the sign of good health is actually the opposite of being lean. Being chubby is seen as healthy, and being lean is associated with ill health and malnourishment. What's interesting is this is ingrained into them from birth and with blind tradition. You can see this most in how we're taught to feed newborn babies. The goal is to fatten them up as quickly as possible with as many trans fat laden foods as we can fry up. There's no regard for their health, their brain development, their motor learning, or their coordination. It's feed, feed, feed. Even if the parents are somewhat health conscious, the elders will override and accuse them of bad parenting. They'll scare the parents into thinking it's bad luck and that their child won't be successful. Now, I do think there's a massive shift happening as more of my generation begins to take control, educate themselves, and teach the elders about healthier alternatives. But it's still very much a work in progress, which is why at family events, weddings, and festivals like Diwali, our behaviors revert back to the norm. When we're not following a nutrition strategy with a strong education foundation, we slowly end up where we started. The traditional South Asian diet is often laden with poor quality cooking oils. I was at an event only recently where the dal being served had 2 layers of liquid. The top 80% in the pot was in fact dal, and the remaining 20% was a dense puddle of oil waiting to be mixed up. I felt a little sick seeing this, and not because of the calories, but because of how that type of food makes you feel after. Which brings me to an interesting observation I've formed in the past decade, having worked with thousands of South Asian clients. I have a theory that after years of eating this kind of food, they often develop what I like to call the hard fat, and I think it's due to the excessive use of poor quality oils used in the cooking. Over time, this begins to create a lot of inflammation and hardens the fat cells. Besides raising inflammatory markers, it'll also negatively impact blood lipid profiles and increase cardiovascular risk factors. This is all theoretical, and there's no real hard evidence to back it up, but I've seen it so often I'm convinced about it now. So what you see in the weight loss process with people who present with hard fat is the fat around the stomach will go from feeling hard to a rice-like consistency to then the more traditional pinchable body fat, which is ready to melt off. And then there's the South Asian genetics. It's crazy. Despite my own journey and the hundreds we've helped transform, this is still a thing. But it's also deeply rooted. This is a culture that ultimately still values wealth, career, status, education over health. When you're young, you're pushed to put your head in the books, not lift weights or chase sporting dreams. In the West, there's a reason you don't see many South Asian Premier League football stars, NBA basketball players, or NFL athletes. Part of it may be genetic, but I think our culture has a strong part to play too. Here's what's interesting though. Back at university, as part of my final year dissertation in sport and exercise science, I studied the impact of diet on fat oxidation and whether different macronutrient makeups would influence how one burns body fat. As a separate statistical analysis, I decided to control for the actual macronutrient makeup and look at the variances in ethnicity. And surprisingly, or not, it showed South Asians, especially Indians, to be poor fat oxidizers. There's definitely a genetic component in this, and why so many South Asians, especially Indians, are either skinny fat or overweight. Very few are naturally built and stay naturally lean year round, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. By the way, when it comes to getting results as a South Asian, the biggest thing is having the belief that it's possible. The rest is simply having the commitment, consistency, and coachability to make it happen. If you want to see If you have these 3 C's for a transformation, try a 5-minute quiz I've created for you. All you need to do is go to www.rntfitness.com/transform or click the link at the top of the description, answer a few yes no questions, and you'll get a personalized score with actions to set yourself up for success. As a bonus, you'll also get my best-selling book, Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life, shipped to your door. So what are the 3 changes we need to make to the South Asian diet? Step 1, manage and or replace the use of poor quality oils. If you want to get lean and stay in shape, you've got to give up South Asian food cooked wrong. That means you might need to cut down how many restaurants or takeaways you get, unless of course you found a clean one. And most of all, you'll need to address how you're currently cooking at home. The first step is to stop pouring oil by feel into your curries or stir fries, or adding them to the dough while making rotis or chapatis. This might taste incredible, but all you're doing is adding a ton of calories with no real benefit, except for unintentional weight gain or a lack of weight loss results. Ultimately, you want to avoid your food looking like the dal example I gave not too long ago. A better solution is to cook in a measured amount of oil where you actually account for the calories, or switch to a 1-cow spray. The benefit of the 1-cow spray is you save calories and get enough of a grease on the pan to still cook well. This, combined with a good quality pan, will ensure your food won't stick to the bottom and burn. Depending on the curry recipe, you could even skip the oil and roast a combination of mustard seeds, fenugreek, and coriander, and cumin, before adding your spices, tomatoes, onions, veggies, and of course, the relevant protein source. South Asians love their spices and flavors, so I'd recommend marinating the protein source overnight with all your favorite herbs and spices. These simple switches will save you easily 100 to 1,000 calories, depending how crazy the oil, ghee, butter situation was before. You can use this for chicken, tofu, or any similar protein source to make a delicious curry daily and get great results. For some ideas, I've popped a few different recipes in the description below to check out. Step 2, don't forget the key missing ingredient, protein. I recently traveled to India for a trip to visit my sister, who lives in Mumbai. When you go to traditional South Asian restaurants or look at street food options, the majority of dishes exclude protein. Now, when meat or fish is involved, usually at dinner, this of course changes the dynamic. But most South Asian staples are typically vegetarian, and this creates a problem. Protein is important for many reasons, including building muscle, satiety, and overall cellular repair in the body. And with it being a critical part of the overall healthy functioning of the body, the lack of protein makes the skinny fat or overweight physique a more predictable one. And the answer isn't more lentils, beans, and chickpeas. Whilst great sources of protein, they're also even greater sources of carbohydrates. So if you rely on them too heavily, you might skew your macro and calorie balance. Being deliberate about including protein into your typical South Asian meals is key, especially for vegans and vegetarians. Low-fat paneer, zero-fat yogurt, tofu, tempeh, and soy mince are all great options. My mum personally loves these options as a vegetarian who in her 60s loves South Asian food, but also loves being healthy and in great shape. I find for the older South Asian population, protein awareness is their biggest health opportunity outside of implementing resistance exercise. In fact, going a generation above, I've tried for years to get my grandma sold on the idea of a protein shake in the day. And I think every now and then she enjoys one with breakfast, but it still is, of course, a work in progress. Step 3, have a clever carbohydrate strategy. If weight loss is your goal with a South Asian diet, I like to keep the protein source as the key focus, then gradually reduce the additional carbs like rice and rotis. For most, having a lentil or bean dish with rice and rotis is just not going to work. It'll mean too many carbs with too little in the way of protein. And it'll mean the other meals of your day are going to need to be protein only, which isn't practical. One strategy is to swap any rice or wheat-based carbohydrate with potatoes, because you get more bang for your buck in terms of food volume. 100 grams of white potatoes has about 18 grams of carbs, it's full of fiber, more nutritionally dense, and can help with satiety. Making a simple potato and cauliflower stir fry with all your favorite herbs and spices will help satisfy your taste buds whilst also keeping your carbohydrates in check. The trick is to keep an eye on the oil using a 1-cow spray plus a splash or 2 of water. And if you parboil the potatoes, it'll cook even easier without the oil. My preferred strategy, however, is to focus on making your vegetables taste South Asian. I find most South Asians love rice in their diet, so taking it away instead of potatoes isn't always practical. If the goal is weight loss, you want to use every trick available to maximize flavor whilst minimizing calories. Adding herbs and spices like coriander, turmeric, paprika, ginger, garlic, and cumin can transform bland vegetables into a delicious addition to your meal. A quick example to demonstrate the maths. 1 cup or 100 grams of 100% whole wheat chapati flour will give you around 4 to 5 medium-sized chapatis, equating to 367 calories, 77 grams of carbs, and 11 grams of protein. Which means a meal of 4 to 5 chapatis with 100 grams of chickpea-based curry will equal the following macronutrients: 745 calories, 31 grams of protein, and 140 grams of carbs. And this isn't including any potential oil you may be adding into the food too. If we assume 2 tablespoons of olive oil, that's another 270 calories, making it a total of 1,000 calories. This simple breakdown is why when your goal is weight loss, or even healthy maintenance, you may be at or close to half your daily calorie quota in just one meal. Not to mention the fact you'll have put a serious dent into your carbohydrate intake with minimal other macronutrients considered. So can you follow the traditional South Asian diet and still lose weight? Ultimately, if your goal is sustainable weight loss, there's 2 parts of the puzzle. The first is to find a way to get into and stay in a calorie deficit for a long enough period of time to achieve your goal. The second is to learn how to eat to maintain your results for the rest of your life, so you never need to diet again. The South Asian diet is just like any other diet. It works if you know how to work it, and it fits your lifestyle, goals, and performance. I could tell you portion control is all you need, but let's be honest, it won't work with the South Asian diet. You will need to change the way you do it, because you might think you're controlling your portions, but each bite could be up to 100 calories in density. The reason I filmed this video is because the South Asian population is one which suffers more than most, based on my observations, from being skinny fat or overweight. What's worse are the health problems associated with this population. Diabetes and cardiovascular issues are considered to be the norm. In fact, it's not uncommon to be at an event and have elders compare how many medications they're on, with the one taking the most boasting about it with a sense of pride. What we need is a deep-rooted cultural shift that begins with education. This means a mindset and behavioral shift in our approach to cooking. No more lathering in oils, butter, and ghee just for the sake of it. No more stacking of the rotlis to see who can eat the most. No more protein absent meals making up most of the meals. I often say the biggest transformations I've been able to personally witness are the ones in my family. Seeing my mum and dad change their eating habits in front of my eyes was something that took me over a decade to accomplish. But it's one that I hope inspires generations to do the same. Because a large part of making a South Asian diet conducive to being healthy, fit, and strong is changing the habits of our elders. Which is why, if you've made it this far, please share this video with your loved ones. Teach them some of the new knowledge you're now armed with, and let's transform a generation to feel, look, and perform at their best. I hope this video has given you the belief that you can eat a South Asian diet and get in shape. Whether you're South Asian or not, you might need to change some of your eating behaviors, there's no doubt about it. And you might need to taper down your visits to your favorite Indian restaurants, or at least change the way you order there. But with new cooking skills and techniques, coupled with greater attention to protein, it can be done. If you want to digest the material in this video further, I'd recommend checking the free South Asian diet guide I've linked at the top of the description below. You'll be able to see some recipes, more examples of South Asians we've worked with, and also more details on the different food groups you may like to incorporate. This is a great first step to draw more inspiration on your journey, before seeing how ready you are to take your fitness to the next level with our free transformation quiz. In only 30 yes or no questions, you'll see if you have the commitment, consistency, and coachability to transform your body like so many other South Asian members I've shared with you today. Try it now by going to www.rntfitness.com/transform or click the link at the top of the description below. I'll see you on the next one.